everyone. Welcome back to the Potsmoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Potsmoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament, of the Christian Bible. I use the King James Version of the Bible to write the book of Zion, so that's where you need to go if you want to look at my interpretations. Now, today I'm talking about the first part of the 30th chapter of the Potsmoker's Bible. It does not have a corresponding chapter to the Book of Zion because this is a concluding chapter. And it's called The Big Plan, or The Threefold God's Plan. It goes like this. This book is the result of events that spanned the entire known history of humanity. It is part of an ancient plan that was set in motion 3,000 years ago. This divine plan is now being brought to its foretold conclusion. We are about to meet our creators. This book gives detailed instructions for making contact with our ancient gods. As I have already explained, the Grey, our ancient gods, had to isolate the human race in order to preserve our Grey DNA. Our isolation made it necessary to provide some means for us to end this isolation at the proper time. This was done through the prophecy of Israel. As I have explained, the prophecy is the key to the truth about God. The truth told in the prophecy is that of aliens we call Grey, that they are the clones of our ancient world's gods. Those gods are back, as they promised they would be. We are their creation, and they do care about us. And they left us a testimonial to prove it. That testimonial is the prophecy of Israel. The prophecy was written in such a way that only the Grey themselves would be able to fulfill it. Without the Grey to manipulate events, the foretold prophecy would be unintelligible. The events foretold beyond the abilities of the human population to perform. This was done to ensure the survival of both the Grey and the humans alike. The Grey used language as the key to the fulfillment of their plan. Without the knowledge of the language used in the text, the message is unintelligible. That language was created by the Grey. They alone understood its future meaning. They used that language to set in motion the events foretold. We call that language slang. It is used by the fringe group, a small minority group that only has one distinguishing characteristic. They use drugs. This group of people make up a hidden population. They come from every nation and family line on earth. They alone use the prophetic language and thus can decipher the ancient Israeli text. The use of slang by the drug users is the key to their unlocking of prophetic verse. The use of drugs, especially marijuana, is the other means by which the Grey ensured that when they returned, they would have the means to reconnect with humanity, and at the same time set up the proper circumstances to to create the planned event. They simply stopped teaching the priests to use drugs. Because drugs, especially marijuana, has always been the tool of the priesthood. By ending the use of drugs by priests, the Grey took the true power of the priesthood away, making it a shadow of its former self. Drugs provide the means for humans to activate their latent Grey anatomy. The chemicals in the drugs provide the key to higher brain functions. The brain functions used by the priesthood The abilities activated by drugs that we use are the means by which we communicate with the Grey. They are the telepathic race, as are all advanced life forms. Human telepathy is dependent on the ingestion of the chemical THC produced by marijuana, a plant which comes from the Grey's ancient extinct homeworld. Our Grey abilities are activated by our drug use. When the Grey returned, they sought out these humans whose bodies carried the telepathic gene. Only those family lines that had once served as priests carried the genetic marker. These individuals were predisposed to respond to Grey's telepathy. These humans were introduced to drug use by the Grey. The use of drugs by these individuals wasn't introduced as a sacred rite. Drugs were used as a stimulant, a means to enhance pleasure. The drug users had no idea the true purpose of the drug use, its ancient history as the priestly ritual. Once the Grey had found and activated a sufficient number of priests, they set in motion phase 2 of the Great Plan, the prohibition of drugs. In 1939, the United States government incited a set of laws that had been designed by the Grey in order to isolate their priests from the rest of society. These laws became what we now call the War on Drugs. The war was necessary to train the priests the Grey had created by leading them to drug use. By manipulating the daily lives of the priests through the prohibitions, the Grey taught each priest truth and honesty, humility, and integrity. It also forced us, through adversity, to push ourselves beyond human endurance. This was done in order to help us evolve into the advanced form of human, capable of using our latent Grey abilities, like telepathy and empathy. The war on drugs was our training ground. Each generation of priests has become more Grey. The use of our Grey abilities has advanced our genetics. Our children are born capable of using their Grey genes. Each generation became stronger mentally. This newly acquired mental strength separates us more and more from our human genetics. We are Grey. It wasn't until my generation that the human Grey genetics were activated. My grandfather used to drink Coke when it was made with cocaine, making me a third generation Grey on my mother's side. That is how it came to be that I was a born telepath, one of the first. During the entire history of humanity, the Grey Watchers have manipulated the families of the ancient priesthood. Certain lines were set up as rulers or kings. These kings descended from the high priests and the high priestesses. Their, um, their descendants were followed, creating a gene pool capable of reactivating the ancient genetics and thus breaking the barrier of telepathy and other priestly abilities, and thus actualizing the plan. My telepathic abilities were apparent at birth, I'm told. I was the first female telepath of my family line, which made me the prophetic Zion. My life was manipulated from birth, as was the lives of those around me. I was deliberately put through hell for 57 years in order to fully activate my genetic code and train me in its proper use. When the Grey discontinued the ancient priesthood, humanity as a whole lost the ability to use their higher functions. Each generation of neglect weakened the chemical bonds that allowed for these higher brain functions until the connections were entirely lost. Now those same connections have been reestablished, and our advanced abilities can again manifest and strengthen. Now that I am ready to teach others what I have learned, we can begin the next phase of the plan. We will reinstitute the ancient priesthood. This book is a training manual for the Grey Priests of the Grey Aliens who seek to serve God, and they should begin by smoking pot. And then reading first this book, then all other sacred texts from every practiced faith. Then you will understand how to serve life and why you should serve life. We must know every religion because we will be serving followers of those same religions. When we open a Temple of Zion, we are providing each community with a place to worship and to petition the aid of the Grey. Our jobs as priests is to unify all religions into one religion. In order to do that, we must be able to articulate trust and faith in every human, even those who don't believe in a God at all. We must serve all faiths to unite them into a single faith. Once we unite all religions, we will have a doctrine that transforms not only the concept and practice of religion itself, but also the concept and identity of humanity itself. Our job isn't just to end religious dissent, but to elevate the entire human race onto a new evolutionary path. A path that unites all of humanity and creates a new social order. Religion is only the beginning. The Zionite temple complex is a foundation upon which to build a better present and a better future, not only for the priests of the temple, but for the communities in which they operate. A priest's job is to serve both God, i.e., the Grey, and humanity. A priest is nothing without humans to serve. Our duty is to give aid to all who are in our presence, both those we encounter and those who seek us out. The priests of the Temple of Zion will serve both Grey and humanity. Each Temple of Zion we open will be a format for change. The temple will be a community center, first for the priests who operate the temple, and then for the people of the community. As we become self-sufficient, we will become able to effect change in our communities. Through good works, we will change the perception of how the general population views us. Our good deeds and unique abilities will make false every unjust claim made against us. When we begin to treat our neighbors as we treat each other, they will begin to see us as we truly are. And there I'm going to end for today for this segment. Next time we'll take up where I left off. Until then, may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, keep you from all harm, and teach you right from wrong. May you always be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Be the joy, my people. Spread the joy. If you get high, stay happy and high. If not, soon your prayers will be answered. I'll see to that. Okay? So until next time, later, because I will never say goodbye.